So originally, I thought that the worst thing about the new Snow White movie by the Walt Disney Company would be Rachel Zegler's goofy ass Lord Farquaad haircut. Yes, it's terrible. However, it's not the worst thing about this movie, which was kind of a pleasant surprise. Let's talk about everything that sucks about Disney's Snow White. Thank you so much for watching the video. Before we get started, please subscribe to the channel. You can also like and share. That tells the powers that be that it's worth promoting. Also, if you would kindly follow me over on Rumble, trying to build the channel there too. You can also follow me on X, Hometown0YT. You can also follow me on Instagram at RealHometown0. Okay, so the Walt Disney Company continues to make baffling decisions. The latest head scratcher is Disney's Snow White. A couple things about this movie. It got off to a bit of a rocky start when Peter Dinklage got really upset that they were making a movie that involved dwarves. I don't know if Peter Dinklage has informed him of these two things. The first thing being that he got extremely wealthy by playing off his height as a little person. In Game of Thrones, the first movie I ever saw him in was Elf, and he has made a fortune and become an instantly recognizable name based on his height. That's the first thing. The second thing, he might also not be aware that dwarves are actually mythical creatures that live in the mountains. They are in everything from World of Warcraft to The Lord of the Rings. He didn't seem to have a problem when he was making a lot of money off of this. And yet here we are. In fact, he had a part in Avengers Infinity War where they kind of joked about his height by making him enormous, 10 times bigger than everybody else. And he didn't have any problem with that. So Peter Dinklage seems to be a bit just slightly hypocritical in this regard. So as a result, Disney said, okay, we're going to make this movie Snow White and her group of diverse companions. A photograph came out showing what this looked like. It was widely ridiculed and panned. So as a result, Disney had to then reshoot a bunch of footage and bring the dwarves back and integrate them into the story. And ultimately, all of these problems result in the muddled, jumbled mess of a film. That doesn't even include the fact that Rachel Zegler came out in the beginning and dumped on the original Snow White and had all of these horrible things to say about it. And you don't generally do that when you're trying to promote a movie and get people to watch it. The movie is not making any money, although it made some for me. It is being widely panned by pretty much everybody. I think audiences think it's okay, maybe a little bit better than the critics do, which is kind of surprising. But it's just another muddled, screwed up Disney mess. They have done this to themselves repeatedly. I think The Little Mermaid did pretty good at the box office, as far as I remember, despite not being a good film whatsoever. I actually liked Aladdin. If I was to rank all of the modern remakes, some are hyper realistic looking, like The Jungle Book and The Lion King. If I was to rank them, I would say I thought The Jungle Book was actually fantastic and it got them off to a great start. And then they put out, Aladdin, which I actually thought was pretty good, probably the best of all of these, except for Jungle Book. And then they did The Lion King, which was completely lifeless and dragged down by an awful performance from Beyonce, who is a singer and should be able to be a voice actress, but proved to be completely incapable of actually pulling that off. So they integrate the dwarves, and they just have this jumbled disaster piece of a movie. They canceled red carpet premieres and all this stuff, and they clearly saw the writing on the wall with the projections for the box office and pulled that marketing for a reason, and the reason is they knew this movie was going to be hot garbage, which it of course is. The diverse companions still exist because they are now these woodland thieves who ultimately are like loyal to the king, who is Snow White's dad. But Snow White's not called Snow White because her skin is as white as snow, but she's called Snow White because she was born like during a snowstorm, which is a weird thing to do. And it's like this whole class warfare thing. It's, instead of it being about like Snow White's beauty, it's about her like kindness and generosity. And Gal Gadot is the evil queen, and she's known as like the most fair in the land exclusively because of her beauty, which doesn't make any sense with what I said before about her being kind and fair, because she's none of those things. The movie is just a ham-fisted, muddled disaster of ideas that are brought on by just a bunch of mistakes made by Disney in the formation of this film, in the production of this film, and the promotion of this film. I actually think it's kind of funny because the least offensive thing about the actual film is Rachel Zegler's performance. I think she's actually pretty good in the role. I'm not offended by them casting her. I think she does well for the content that she's given. The problem is everything else that surrounds her is terrible. The new songs here are completely forgettable. They're like AI-generated Disney schlock, and I don't remember any of the music apart from the original songs. The dwarves look terrible. If you're gonna CG the dwarves, they have to look like somewhat realistic, and it's just a huge downgrade from everything we've seen before. And yeah, this movie just sucks. Disney's getting exactly what they deserve. They've run Star Wars into the ground. Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny was a train wreck. And now they've reached the point, they have long since surpassed the point of diminishing returns when it comes to these live action remakes. And they just need to stop. They just have to stop doing what they're doing. And they can talk about wanting to do quality over quantity all they want, but the proof is in the pudding, and the pudding sucks. So thank you for watching this review. I'm sorry that if you're a Snow White fan that this movie exists. Just go watch the original. It's better. It's like the OG Disney movie, which is kind of humorous considering how much they've screwed this up. This very might well end director Marc Webb's career, and somebody at Disney for sure needs to get fired, but they probably won't because nobody ever seems to. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next Wednesday at 9 a.m.